Well, hi everybody. We're back with another episode and stories from my stroke recovery. Today, I would like to talk about things that were unexpected as part of having had a stroke and trying to recover from it. Of course, it's hard to know what to expect after having a stroke, and the doctors and the medical staff, they do their best to try and explain to you what some of the phases may be, having lost, as I've said before, complete use of my right side, and regaining it a little bit here and there. And they warned me that it would have some progressive stages, but there are some things that it's different for everybody. I mean, no two strokes are alike. Some people have horrible consequences. They can't sleep, they can't speak, they can't remember, they can't feed themselves, etc. And I didn't have those problems, but of the things they warned me about, there were a few things that I wish somebody warned me might happen. One of the most profound was that for a while I almost completely lost control of my emotions. Even though I had some obvious problems with my mobility, for a couple of years even, I couldn't really control my emotions very well. Things would strike me funny. If something mildly amusing struck me as funny, I would laugh hysterically for minutes at a time. I mean, uncontrollably laughing. I couldn't speak, I could barely breathe, and it would be it would be over nothing. So, and conversely, if I saw something that upset me, that I found distressing or even sentimental, I could start crying and I would not be able to stop. I would just cry and cry and cry and cry like a little kid, for minutes at a time, and then it would pass. Then it was gone. And another one was anger. I would be so irritable at times, just the slightest thing, and I just fly off the handle. I would get so angry. It was one reason, frankly, why I didn't want to drive for a while, even though I was physically capable of it. I was afraid my emotions would get the better of me, and not a good thing when you're driving, which, as we know, can be a pretty stressful experience. So, those are some examples, and they faded with time. In fact, I hadn't even thought about it in the last year ago or so until something had happened that struck me funny, and I started giggling. I'm like, I haven't done that in a while. So in a way, that's good. With time, the emotional stability returned, and I'm functioning a little bit more like a normal human being. I sort of hate to think what would have happened if I tried making one of these videos when I was in that kind of hyper emotional state. So who knows? Another thing that I didn't expect at all, but I guess it's very common for stroke patients, is that I was tremendously afraid of having another stroke. And they do say this is the number one fear of stroke patients because you don't know when it's coming. You don't always get any kind of advance warning. It's very dramatic. It could literally end your life. And since you didn't know where the first one came from, where might the second one be? Lurking around the corner so every time you start to feel a little bit odd, or at least in my case, whenever I'd feel a little bit odd, I'd wonder, is this a warning? Am I about to have another stroke? Um, that was a bit of a problem, and with time it faded, of course, as you get used to the reality. Okay, well, now for me it's been more than 4 years, so I'm probably not going to have a stroke right this second, but still it lurks there in the background. You can't help but be a little bit worried about it. So um, another thing that nobody warned me about that was totally unanticipated was metabolic changes. I'd been told there might be some problems with my bodily functions, but my metabolism and especially my ability to eat and process food was really severely affected for a while. In fact, initially, for about 6 months after the stroke, my blood sugar was completely out of control, even though I was on a very restricted carbohydrate diet and virtually no sugar. I actually needed to shoot insulin every day or twice a day for about 6 months. Never had this problem before with my blood sugar being so out of control. And then one day, after about 6 months, 7 months, I took my morning dose of insulin and I started to get hypoglycemic. I started shaking, feeling lightheaded. I tested my blood sugar and it was really low. And I thought, well, that's odd. So I didn't take any more insulin for a couple of days, and I was monitoring my blood sugar, and it was within a normal range, completely normal. The only thing different had been the passage of time. So that was very strange. Um, things you can't really be warned about that you don't know to look out for. Um, with that, in terms of metabolic changes, there was also I had certain tastes of mine changed, and not just in food. In terms of food, there were some changes. Like I have not really eaten Mexican food since I had the stroke, and I still love it. I just absolutely love Mexican food. Just don't want to eat it anymore. Just completely lost my taste for it. And my taste in other things. My taste in music changed. Some of my favorite music that I listened to, I didn't want to hear anymore. It's just very odd. Books that I loved reading, I didn't want to read. Well, part of that is because I couldn't read them. I mean, I could read them, but I couldn't comprehend them. So that was part of that. But the whole music and entertainment and conversation, it was all different. And it's kind of funny now that it's been about 4 years that it's a lot of that is returning to normal, but still it's very strange. And as my recovery continues, oh, who knows what will happen to me that's unexpected. I can only hope that whatever it is, that it'll be good. So one good unanticipated change though has been the reception I've received for doing these videos. So I'm very grateful to everyone who watches and who leaves me comments. I hope you'll subscribe, and if you want to share these with other people, that would be really great. And if there are things that have happened to you unexpectedly, good or bad, and how you cope with them, knowing about that would help me. So if you want to leave a comment, please do so. Or if you want to send me an email, by all means, go right ahead. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.